Friendly greetings, I am Torley, and Twisted Tools, I dig your cyan and gray. Oh. That one's kind of like a TR-909 snare. Oh, the sub bass in this. Oh, dino steps. Sweet dino steps. Oh, okay. So we're up to 8. A little bit of an introduction. I'm doing a project preset episode. You can read what this is about in the description below. I am specifically going through the various and artist banks in this episode, both for my benefit and yours. This is Slayer portmanteau. Sampler layer. Sample layer. Well, that's deep. Very. Oh. The content in here is so creative, you will not find genericism. My story with Twisted Tools actually goes back a way to Buff Eater. Notice again the gray and cyan. And I love all the glitch effects that I used with that tool in Glitch Piano. You can hear the clicks. But anywho, you get more information right here. And I love to find out how playable a tool is, even a twisted tool, out of the box. Just get in and explore. And of course, I haven't heard many of these, so you're seeing my very first time reaction. This is not a review, I remind you. It's merely my laboratory and my discoveries through sound. So, in case you're going, all right, dude is triggering samples, get that? What's really the point here? The magic of happy accidents, in respect for Bob Ross, who I believe said, in our world, there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. Look for R&D, aka random. By the way, a lot of these, they're useful if you mouse over, they'll give you the hover tip. Although for some reason, it's weird that Master Random doesn't. And if you randomize, let me go through this one. Oh, what was that? Okay, that one. And say we want to randomize this one. Now, okay, I will take this off because that's controlled by the master random. Say you like that sound, but you want variations upon it. So let's make that affected by the master random. And this one for volume. And then let's go ahead and click that. So each time we get a different combination. Well, it does trigger itself when I click it each time. So notice each time slightly different. Wait. Yeah, the pitch. Hear that? There. You get lost in there. Okay. Whoop. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So speaking of happy accidents, now it's not designed, this is what I learned. Thank you graciously, Josh Hinden of Twisted Tools. It's not designed to be used polyphonically, which means you can't hit multiple ones at once. It would confuse the darn thing because each note you hit corresponds to a scene. As you see, I'm going 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it can be CPU intensive because apparently there are over 300 parameters each time you switch between a scene. So you may need to resample them if you want to trigger them in a drum machine or some other configuration outside of here. But for generating the inspiration, I was thinking about how this solves a workflow problem for me. And that is, okay, there are a lot of great kits out there and sound effect sample packs. It takes time to layer and to control the pitch. Well, you have it right here. And randomizing allows you to get into those otherwise untapped channels. So these ones are structured like very creative and high quality, each one of them, drum kits. So you can play it like that. If you do hear clicks, it is because it can be the CPU spiky that way. And that's what counts. If you're in your studio, whether you're solo or with friends, and you're cracking up and you're nodding your head and you're having a good time, that's what's right. That's what I count my heart and my mind on. My soul, too. Oh, that's good. So, for instance, if we just had the master sample, this is great because it'll sound totally different each time. So that's good. Now we have, if we just even randomize, we have that one. Inspiration. Ooh. Was that even used there? I was just looking for modulation. You can affect the sounds in other ways. Hey, that sounds like me saying A. Almost A. Like, Beavis and Butthead. Okay, this is what's so great because I've recorded it. It's on the internet for everyone to see, and I can come back and say, that time I wanted that sound that said A. Oh. So yeah, there's a real techno-organic quality. I think some of the sample content from Jed Sound was inspired by Eamon Tobin, that ISAM album, where you have a lot of very processed through Kima and creative synthesis. So again, don't count on genericism here. It's awesome. And you can go layers on top of that. Wild stuff. And it's pretty crazy when you realize, okay, so put this into consideration, just the sheer, I have to disclaim, I received a promo copy, but what I'm saying is totally uncensored. Consider though, it costs $70, and of course you need to own Reaktor, but for the quality of the content you get and the many kits in here, look at other drum sample kits and listen and audition those. And on top of that, you have a creative inspiration, the environment, you can load in other samples, which I'm not going to do here, but if you did need to do that, you're not confined to what's in here. That's the point. But Project Preset meant to show you what's actually in the box. Pardon, SoundStream issues. This can be heavy. Oh, that's nice. And you might just found one or two these sounds you want to play with it. So incredibly rich presets is what I'm saying. And by the way, another thing I discovered is the mod wheel is just, you can change this, but it's assigned to tune by default. Which is great, because for some reason, I had some older ROM synthesizers, like the Alesis QS8. I could use the pitch wheel for drums, but some samplers, they make it so hard. Don't understand why. And another thing is, let me play through this. And let's go to transpose. So what this means now is whatever scene is currently selected. Like, let's see a good one. Like that. Now you can play this across the whole keyboard range. Yeah, like that. Let's go back to that one. So if that's how you want to trigger it, that's how you want to roll. Oh, let's see. So now it's pitched down. It's a simple but effective trick, and there's built-in effects too, by the way. It's a cool trick that with sound design, for example, if you want to have something sound outerworldly, just change the pitch. One time I had these ice cubes cracking in a tray, and I just pitched it down. It sounded like an iceberg cracking at the Titanic. Oh, speaking of cracking, that's sweet. Breakbeat style-y, It's rich. Spacey. You can plug in other effects here you're familiar with from Reaktor. Otherwise, you can disable these and then use your normal DAWs sequencer chain to figure that out. Bricolage. Is that a tribute to Eamon Tobin? Like spaceships, 3D ones flying across. So it's great because on one hand, the content is already really unique. Whoa! And on top of that, there's the benefit of loading in your own stuff and taking it even further. It's wicked. We're only on number 15. I know there's no demo version, so those of you who want to hear what it all sounds like, I'm giving you a taste of that. Yeah, there's those clicks again. So I'd take that and I'd sample it, or freezing it if you have bounce or print to audio in a track. I found that made it go away. Another thing about Twisted Tools support is the first time I downloaded Buff Eater, hilarious story here. So Buff Eater, I had problems with the download system, and it struck me how amazingly friendly and responsive Josh of Twisted Tools was. So if you get help by him, give him a shout out from me. That counts, responsiveness. Because it's important to remember, I think something I've learned through experience is that some of the people responsible for some of the weirdest, most alien tools and sounds out there, they're some of the most human and friendly and approachable of all. Which is weird, but makes sense if you think about it. Because I want to trigger these a lot more rapidly in a breakbeat sort of capacity. It's very useful having the mouse over hovers. And like I've been showing you, if you don't want to, I like the animation too. That's a neat thing, the wave animation there. If you don't want to get under the hood, you can just start playing off the bed. Oh, come on, keys. You hear that tail in there? Metal crunch. So whether I'm noticing it, oh, this gets, what? Where did that come from? Oh yeah, these! You can further control things. Ah, yeah, you have this, you have that. It goes deep. What's this wrapper? Not an egg roll thing. Oh. Wrapper knob. Oh, see, okay. Further modulations. You have modulations atop modulations. I have to sit down with this later. Play. Oh, that's brilliant. See, you hear there might be junk. Well, I'm not saying this specifically, but if you randomize junk. Oh, inspiration. So now I know. Cracker Jack. C7 does not compute. M8. All this is included right here, so you could come and load this up and play these marvels. Oh, it's got a kind of aquatic feel to it. Shame about the click thing. I want to do some serious breakcore action, man. Or woman. Or alien. So yeah, you could record a bunch of stuff and then cull the best bits. It's funny because a sound by itself, it takes on a greater identity when mixed, when layered. Intergalactic. Oh, like a comb filter thing. So already, oh, I think it has to do with the feedback there. Oh, clever. So let's see. Yeah, good trick. So even with these built-in couple of effects, you can, neat tricks. I was reading the interviews, Classic Nemo Studios with Vangelis, a bona fide electronic music grandmaster, and about how he, when this interview, this was quite a while ago, I wonder if he uses iPads now or what, but he was having difficulty with computer operating systems. There was too much of a workflow impediment. I mean, we've gone through 30 kits so far, eight scenes each, and the variety of sounds, I mean, there is a thematic consistency, but it's so diverse. But about Vangelis, he was saying it matters so much. I'm loosely paraphrasing here. It matters so much that you can immediately get to making music without having to, some people say, fight the computer. And I see if you recorded these and applied some swing patterns, it could be kind of some of that minimalist songs wobble, sans wobble, dubstep. Just bear So is it as easy here in my understanding if this is actually used? Yeah, so there, you can just draw modulation. I am like a child. I always remember what got me into electronic music in the first place. All these timbres, which is a funny word. And how deep you can get. Let's see here. So kind of a glitchy, chiptune-y melody there. It's when you hear and you're kind of like, well, that's kind of high-pitched, and it could be a hi-hat. That one's like a clap, snare hybrid things. Not that one, that's a hi-hat. But how we categorize things as humans is fascinating psychologically. Oh, see, I'm drawn to certain sounds. That is one of them, because you have the satisfying, but it's also. And I think it also, for me anyway, when I have such easy access to not in an overwhelming variety of sounds, but there's a balance. You can dive in the pool. This is something I've said for a long time, that you can appreciate. It's like water. You appreciate the beauty of the surface of the ocean, but at the same time, if you want to explore, you can dive deeper, and there's so much more life under the ocean to be uncovered. So, but I think accessibility, it matters so much, being able to, fascinating, get into a tool. I mean, you can cut up pieces, sample, reshape. That is what we do. It's sort of a solemn oath as electronic musicians. The ability to shape our reality, to transform. By the way, Twisted Tools, they have an amazing sample pack called Transform from Jed Sound, who also contributed to this. I'm a big fan of his stuff. And it's, kind of reminds me of old video game noises. So here we've gotten away from a drum kit into thinking about atmospheric sound design. That sounds like Odd Techer. Yeah, I can play faster, but that's not always the point. Diffused kicks. Diffused snares. And what I'm already thinking, I could take 8 here, 8 from a whole bunch of various 8x8 kits and map them all across, or 8 times 11, 88. And have amazing variety right there. all coming from the source. Oh yeah. So that one's already set to transpose. Okay, playable. Very fun. So kind of the, not quite classic rave stab, but the name made me think of it. And that's funny because nowadays, something I like to say is that when we can surpass a limitation, we seek to recreate it. It's so fascinating that when we got past, for example, tape noise artifacts and other analog imperfections, we have tape simulators, plugins. Or everyone who uses Instagram to intentionally add what used to be undesirable effects because they add character. Kind of the people used to tell me, oh, it sounds like a fart, that TB303. I didn't know why at the time, but then later, oh yeah, acid. So these are not multi-samples per se, and in doing that, they may have sort of a lo-fi feel, especially if you chain them up with other effects. So each one is kind of different, but they're linked. For your spooky breakdown section, they're here. Oh yeah, that is nice. Ambient secret. What's the full name of that thingamajig? Well, let me scroll down here. Oh, there's quite a few. Secret room. It's like one of those rooms they cover up in a house, and the door, they take the knob off and bodies are installed. Oh, I'm getting grim. So I'm big on contributing value, and there's a lot of value right here. So even that, you think of a sort of traditional, it's funny I say traditional, not that old, but the white noise on certain trance tracks where you have a sweep, you go like that. And a lot of it helps with pitch or a filter, a high pass filter. But here, and then boom, techno. Whoop, went back. Didn't mean to do that. Machine speaking. You think of, are you familiar with FUI, Future UI? It's a initialism, no, acronym. But in a lot of these trailers and movies and shows where they show a robot coming together and everything has to make an articulated noise. Speaking of, come into form here. And for me, this is great because I like to have inspiration very much. Sometimes I sit down, I design sounds from scratch or whatever the case may be, but I find it distracts. It's a different sort of mode. I think Herbie Hancock said something about this once, this very topic. And so I like to have sounds ready to go. Some people work well concurrently with both modes. And of course, there's the sort of bridge, the blur between sound design and music. That's where a lot of advanced development lies. From academia to the pop charts. And of course, like bees. Let me go back there. I want to do a bees. Okay, let's see here. Pick that one. Transpose. And so this one makes use of, you can see in here, there's built-in grain stretcher for granular synthesis. Let me randomize this. Let me turn the parameters up. Let me see. Lower the high end. So I'm not understanding yet why. Let me see this. What is this? Figure this out, because I thought this would limit the values to be in that lower range. What happens? Have to learn more about that. There's stretching here too. It's very visually fun to watch. You can almost imagine a scanning sort of device. Not lightsabers, but my hand. Actually that. So when we lowered the pitch, you could be designing your own futuristic weapons here. Anyway, my mind, as it so often does, diverged into the future UI sort of stuff, and people make mock-ups of how people are going to use the Minority Report kind of things. Like wind chimes. It's curious to me, not the wind chimes, but future UI, because then it ends up influencing the next generation for real, like how Star Trek influenced engineers to go into NASA. How we have the iPad, very science fiction, and that's the visual equivalent of audio designing the world. That's badass! So bouncy ball effects. So say we'll make our own curve just by dragging. That makes it really easy right there once you know what's going on. I have to figure these out. Because in a number of tools, or you would have to chain up multiple plugins, but that's right there. You can make it sing and dance that way. And I think that's a great advantage, speaking of iPad, that devices like that have with multi-touch. Because you go beyond the key. You ever heard of the TC11? That's a cool app. TC11 merged with this. Or load some samples from this to kind of environment after your, well, not samples, scenes after you process them. So you could start with one scene and then copy and paste and create variations, which is what it sounds like this one is. You create a good basis for the rest to come. So that's stuttery. That. And there must be a modulation going on. Just like to see what else is happening here. So if we drew up like this, it would not stutter? Is that the idea? Okay, yeah. Interesting. Let's not forget about random. Okay, you know some of those, I think it syncs to the host tempo. But anyway, some of those transformers where they, so if you pitch this down, go, and that's what you would have as a natural consequence. So that's the fastest, and then it gets slower. If I was just to randomize that, oh yeah, that's very transformerish. Haha, more than meets the eye. Yeah, I like how when it goes doo-doo-doo-doo. Spy thriller. That's so important to have fun when you're doing this. That's madcap. That's great transitions. And I think it's actually right here that I like so conveniently being able to change the reversal. See? And now let's reverse half of them. So sucked back in time. I mean, imagine kids growing up with this stuff now. Mines were blown on much simpler devices. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So this is great. A lot of backward noises. Rich. So it's so intriguing. I find that with twisted tools, I hesitate to use the word niche sometimes because what if it's new? What if people didn't know they had a place for it before? I guess you create a niche. In any case, I use that word very positively. With twisted tools, each of their tools has, besides the cyan and gray, such a unique approach, and it fills that unique need. Stutterer. You're down. And you see, just simple like that, easy to play, that I have played this groove. We've gone from these drum kits, glitch hop and IDM experimental shiznit, to various ambient noise tools and putting loops in here. So you could load another loop in here and have it treated with the same process without having to recreate that recipe. That's just so amazing. I love that. You can make it sing. That's a huge part of what I always remember with electronic music tradition, and going forth in the future with some of these really amazing controllerists is whether it's keys, knobs, or sliders to play the instrument to make it sing, be expressive. Wonders to behold. So that's curious. What happens we... That's curious. Oh, weird. Oh, that's a sample speed there. One great thing, I like browsing here, and this is a great lesson that a lot more tool makers could learn from, is you have to have quality preset content. Otherwise, there could be possibilities under the hood that most people will never explore. But if you expose that, make it very playable, someone hears it and they wonder, oh, I want to tweak that. It's addictive. It starts with that. And then before you know it, they're creating full-blown sounds. It's got a good groove. But to encourage that curiosity, I think there's a very false dichotomy that comes with when people say, don't water it down. Well, at the same time, everyone begins as a baby. You don't throw a baby into a car and say, drive. You have to learn to crawl, and then you walk, and then you give your parents grief when you're getting your driver's license. Life. It's like Trans-Euro Express. So although my own characteristics, I pay incredible amounts of respect to the grandmasters in being forward-looking and thanking them for their research and development. As Kraftwerk would say, sound workers that led us forth. But more than a sound worker, I'm a relic retriever. Aura relics. I'm always looking for sonic gems. I think even someone new to synthesis, you look at something like this, they're like, okay, visually, I hear what's going on, I see. Now, what's the connection? Am I encouraged to play around with that and change the variables? And change and transform reality? Oh, that's got a lot of steps on that one. I also think what's so useful is it's elastic. It's not a fixed sample. You have the structure here. You have the framework in which to perform a sort of audio alchemy. that is intensely satisfying, delightful even. It's like Metro, the subway, hanging on rails and stuff at night. I swear, they should make a reality show with sound designers. The Secret Lives of Sound Designers is what I would call it. I would so watch the love out of that thing. How they go about and record Foley in the field and aspects of the business they don't want to deal with because they would rather be creative. You can become, as I have, progressively intoxicated on these sounds. Every nuance would drive you mad, but leave you with a smile. To think that on something like, I think it was Vangelis's Boberg, that he used a single synthesizer with various effects routings, his famed CS80, and the amount of noises he was able to generate with that, and we have logistically, I think, thousands times more power, processing power, and and the human element in nowadays tools by itself doesn't mean better music is being made, but hopefully it reaches the people that are inquisitive, that do want to experiment and play. I think no matter how old we get, how wise we claim to be, of course, anyone, it's like the word cool, anyone who says they aren't. But you want them to play with you. That. Have fun. It's like a roller coaster, this one. It's wild. Oh, this reminds me of some This would be a great topper loop on some of the deep dubstep grime. See, that's minimal techno. Everyone's dancing in lockstep. But genres, labels, styles like that, they're just a consequence of excellence. They are not excellence in themselves. Too confining. There are no guilty pleasures of music, of anything. You like what you like, and if you truly like it, if you even love it, then there is no shame. If it is art, if it is created to bring emotion, whether it is joy or a story with sadness, when you fall into that, you get lost in a world. So it must be some complicated, well, I hope it's not complicated setup, but how this was modulated. Looking at all these. Hi there. Gonna have to learn more about that. Read the manual. Crazy, because when you think about some of those old analog modular. And you had a 16-step sequencer, but that's all it was. And you have to do tricks on tape, like tape them end to end to change the chord progression, the sequence, to make it more dynamic. Now we just key press, copy and paste. Wow, I'm just lost here. I'm gonna pause the wait. And I think for yourself, exploring the sounds as I am, and you'll have your own favorites. $70, that's like the price of a decent sushi dinner for two. I like that. It kind of, it doesn't sound like the style of Yellow, but it has that propulsive punch fun. It's like a punch. Oh, yeah. My hat's off to the programmers. I hear a lot of samples to where it's painful, almost. But I get hungry. Hungry for the right stuff. It's like, you can't just eat rice alone. So I could hear taking that loop, cutting it up, and processing it through other. Maybe make it filtered. Well, we can apply filters in here, I believe. Yeah. What happens here? Figure out why that's not changing as much as I think it should. Anyway. Kind of makes me think of another thing, Korg Wave Station, with some of the wave sequencing, that you can't quite peg this into a box, which is great. Unique sonic identity. At the same time, you think, oh, where can I go with this? Glitch-tastic. So you can easily throw in the aim and break or something and have chaotic drum programming in the snap. And I don't think it's cheating at all. Remember, when we can surpass limitations, we seek to recreate them. There are so many things that cannot yet be automated. And so when we can make things easier to facilitate the creative process, we climb to those greater heights. So we work on this frontier of what can't yet be automated via macro or other means. So I'm specifically referring to something like easy ways to get complicated sounding drums. If you want to labor and go through the exercise of understanding the old school process, yes, that can be valuable. But ultimately, especially if you're working with deadlines, you probably want a quicker way. Good for your health too. Just interesting to see everything that's going on there. Oh, and that's the end of that. So let's get on to the artist kits. Let's hear these. 51 here. I like seeing the attribution. And that's one thing that always bugged me with earlier synthesizers. You have an 8-character LCD or something. You don't know who made the sound. They're artists. And I think it's a parallel to some early game programmers. Didn't credit them, don't know who they are. But I like to reach out and say thank you. So what happens when we go? Haha, that's super. Cool. And that's certainly one problem I see with the stereotypes about the very word preset. And I use it to describe the content that exists in a tool out of the box. It should inform you about possibilities. It should excite you about playing the machine. And it can sound very elaborate, very lush and layered, but it should also be usable. In a mix, in solo, and having notes is very important. Mr. Supreme, Richard Devine at work, at play. Play with the mod wheel there. Although I think for my purposes, I might map that to pitch bend instead, because then it's going to roll back to the center, and I like it that way. So with presets, I think sometimes it's unfairly and incorrectly, wrongly regarded as a dirty word, because it's a dialogue between the tool makers, the sound designers, and the musicians, and people who can bridge both. And so if a synth has crappy presets, it doesn't do the tool any justice. The musicians are going to be turned off. But if you can, wow, you will have your steak plus and your sizzle. That's sizzling. That's just... That's so much chaos going on that one key press. You can see a lot of stereo, the panning. It's going crazy. Just one solo, one layer like here, and then all together like that. So this is, it's a more common kind of snare sound. There's a noise that is wrapped around it like a fur coat where no animals were harmed. Yeah. Ha! I love those moments. Posterity. It's a clap, but it's got that added texture on the tail. Tease it up. These are great accents for, say, the beginning of an 8-bar loop or something like that. Kind of squishy. And if you want to shape further, randomize. like you have all those other ones, except for the, whoop, close that. Left hand not good at mousing. Just like that. And I think sometimes that's a great sign when you may set things up on the screen, but you can turn away and you just hear something. And you sense the magic and you come back to the screen to make further changes. It's a curious thing because sometimes something can look right, like quantized beats. You guys know what I'm talking about. But when you hear it, doesn't sound. So I think trusting your eyes without the feedback loop with your ears is problematic. Oh, let's transpose. Ah, yes, designing sound. Sometimes I like instruments that are tonal but wild and difficult to control. It's like the fun of, although I haven't done this, bronco bareback riding in the rodeo. I've seen cowboys. Oh, I like that. The kind of res zap. It is really a kind of time travel here. All these points in space. Froggy. So perhaps we solo. So hear what's going on. Oh yeah, because those didn't have volume. I should have noted that. So at a minimum, it's really play those and then you can start touching and dragging. You can always revert, undo, experiment. It would be cool actually to take something like classic EMU emulator, the real original samples, and put them through a futuristic tool like this, creating that bridge, that temporal bridge. Oh. That clap had some space to it. So from the microscopic. Oh, that's big. So it's pitched a bit differently. Turn off the reverb. See, hover tip there. That's good to know. Hover tips are useful that way. I guess that's another thing for me. I like reading some of the manuals for pleasure, but I don't like to do it when I'm right here in the environment, so I prefer if it has integrated documentation of some sort. So it could loop and have variations. Against. These are the ghosts in the machine. one has like a little flip at the end. Yeah, that's a res zap, isn't it? Randomize for fun. It's like other tools I really enjoy, Sugar Bytes Tornado. Random fun. Could use them together. Which is really intriguing now that I think about it, because typically a drum machine, although this is not just that, it's one subset, but drum machines, typically you think of them in polyphonic sense. You have multiple drums playing. With this, you have one at a time, but they're very focused cannons, layered up to 8 samples, and parameters for each of those samples, over 300 deep. Makes it very accessible. I like the shucking. It's kind of yeah. It brings to mind another thing, a misconception with electronic music, where there's the very inaccurate accusation that, oh, you're not really making the music, the computer's doing all the work. Well, who made the computer? Who made the programs in the computer? I think it's a beautiful thing when you combine step time and real time. So someone may have programmed a sound. Great intricacy that is automated by the machine faster than any human can move like a monkey. At the same time, human dexterity with other tasks is required. Fascinating things to think about. Many philosophical transhumanist issues. Some of them, you hold them down. You have to let them evolve. I'm not giving justice to some of these. It's kind of like Tron, makes me think of insects. That's cool. Just like, I think one of the simple things, changing pitch, is a simple but effective way to change the vary, make it fluid. And so is simply reversing using this right here. I think that's very cool. Spread and slice. Routings, yeah. With synths, each one is going to have its, I think, sort of unique approaches to common elements like envelopes. And you'll see some words used in different ways. Groovy. It's very crisp, very crisp. Oh, it's haunting. Oh, if I ran that through an amp, like those old VHS openings. Very ominous, like a horror movie. It's like, the year is 1974. Little Mikey can't sleep that night. There's a sound. And there are many, many sounds. Oh, we've gotten to the end. All right. Hope you've enjoyed our ride together with Twisted Tools Slayer. I'm going to close this tape now, but just a reminder to check out twistedtools.com. I suppose one thing that confuses me with their fav icon is, where's the cyan in that? Good colors. You notice with their color scheme. Oh, yeah, with Slayer, there it is. So very, very articulate design and lots of fun. As Bob Ross would say, have happy accidents.